Ariel Helwani in Chicago gearing up for UFC on Fox 6. But before we get to talking about that, we are being joined by one of the greatest UFC champions of all time and the new UFC Vice President of Athlete Development and Government Relations. He is, of course, Matt Hughes. Matt, first off, you just announced your retirement. Congratulations on that, and congratulations on the new gig.
Well, thank you. A trying day for me. I knew that retirement was coming, but as a competitor, you hate hanging the gloves up. So not real happy about it, but the way it is, everybody's going to grow older, and I'm just excited to be still part of the UFC and going to fill this role of athletic development and government relations.
So you say you're not really happy about it. Whose decision was this?
Well, you know, Dana has always been, sometimes he's a boss, sometimes he's a brother, sometimes he's a dad, and he come to me with my wife and said, hey, you don't need to compete anymore. I've got a position for you that we've been looking to fill. You fit the role perfectly. So in the end, he's right. He's right. When you lose the last two like I did, where I think if the fight would have went all 15 minutes, I would have won both of them. He's right. So I'm just glad I got a position here to keep me in the sport.
Had he not said that, do you think you would have been fighting again?
If he hadn't said that, I already had a fight under my belt. I talked to him 2 months after the Koscheck fight. So if he hadn't kind of grounded me and told me I've got a position for you and kept me up to speed, yeah, I would have fought by now.
Now, is this, and with all due respect, is this a real position, or is this Dana White saying, I don't want Matt Hughes to fight anymore, so I'm going to give him this to make him feel better about himself?
As far as I know, it's a real position. Of course, I've always done a lot with the UFC and government talk. You know, I went to California several times, any state legislature, and talked to them about the do's and don'ts as far as fighters are concerned. But this is a very real position. They've looked around at other sports that are like the UFC, and that fighters are independent contractors. So you look at golf or tennis and look and see what they're doing and how they're keeping their guys informed. They did the same thing, and this is the role I'll take just like everybody else. All the other sports have the same thing.
You're kind of a pioneer in our sport now, right? Another pioneer.
I would be the first in this role. So I am excited. If you would ask my wife, who obviously knows me well, she said I was made for this role. So it's going to be interesting. I can always give people my opinion. So and I see it. I'm not a policeman at all, but I see it more of a liaison. UFC fighter, they have a difference of some sort. I'll step in, I'll digest it, I'll talk to both parties. Sometimes I'll go to the UFC and say, hey, Johnny's got a point here. Sometimes I'll go to Johnny and say, hey, the UFC has your best interest at heart, and if I was you, I'd kind of listen to what they're saying. So that's how I see my role playing out. Now, as you know, down the road, other needs might arise, and I could be changed. But as of right now, that's how I see it playing out.
But to be clear, you do work for the UFC, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, aren't you always going to side with them?
No. And I think you could answer this better than me. Whenever they put a mic in my face, I always said and did what I wanted. I never was anybody's puppet. So I'm going to do what I think is right, and they want me to do what's right. They want to understand what's going on in the fighters' minds sometimes. So yes, I'm going to draw a paycheck from the UFC, but I'm there to give them my perspective on whatever it is arises. So I don't think they have to worry about me siding with them, and I don't think the fighters have to worry about that either. I'm gonna do what I think's right.
Does this mean you have to move to Las Vegas?
No, I'm not moving to Vegas. That was never brought up, and it didn't matter if it was. I wouldn't move away from my farm.
The UFC give you a good deal? I mean, did they have to negotiate with you? Where you're like, I don't really want to do this. I want to do that. Like, how did that go as far as giving you this new job?
They brought it up, and I said that's a perfect fit for me. So it wasn't to where they said, hey, here's three things. Which one of these three things you want? They said, hey, this is what we need, and I said that's a perfect fit for me. So it worked out well.
Now, what happens if you have a situation where, there's a fighter who in the past you may not have had the best relationship with? A name like Dan Hardy comes to mind, right? Is Matt Hughes going to call up Dan Hardy and say, you know what, I need to talk to you about this situation? How's that going to work out?
I don't have any problems talking to anybody.
Well, he may have a problem, or someone you fought with in the past.
Yes, and I can't control somebody else's opinion or how they act. So, but as far as my point, I don't have a problem. To be honest, I didn't have a problem with Dan Hardy. Didn't have really a problem with Frank Trigg or anybody. So it'll be interesting because I am going to be called upon to talk to some of those guys. Matt Serra and I always had a big battle going back and forth. So it'll be interesting. But as far as my end, I don't see a problem.
How do you feel about tweeting these days? It's a very controversial thing. Guys and girls have been tweeting sometimes some things that maybe us in the press or the casual fan may think that's crossing the line. Will you pick up the phone and say, hey, you may have to think twice about what you put out there?
I hope that doesn't come across my job description. I don't want to be a policeman where a fighter gets a text or a call from Matt Hughes and think, oh gosh, what did I do wrong now? I don't want that to happen. So will it come across my table, so to speak? We'll see. I hope that's not all I do is police people.
When does the job start?
Job started about a year ago.
Really?
Yeah.
You've been doing this for a year?
Setting up for it and everything, yes. So it started, and 2 fights ago, BJ fought. Who'd he fight?
2 fights for BJ?
Yeah.
Well, his last fight was against, Nick Diaz.
Diaz. Yeah. It was right after that fight, and
Really?
yeah. So we started talking.
Why have you been keeping it to yourself this whole time?
Because that's what I was told to do.
So you've been retired really for a year, so you've had time to digest this.
Yes, yes.
All this time we've been asking you, you've been lying to us.
Dodging the truth.
That's fair.
I wouldn't lie to you or Ariel.
You've always been very kind, and we appreciate that. Let's end on this note, because this is officially the end, right? And it's kind of the end of an era in some ways. You, Chuck, Tito, maybe BJ. It feels like that class that really put the UFC on the map is going away. Is this a sad time or is this a good time in our sport?
I guess it depends on how you look at it. I'm really split in that, Ariel, this is all I know. Going to a cage and fighting. So it's going to be a little bit more of a transition for me because today everything is real and it happened. It's out there. I'm talking with you about it right now. So it's a big day for me, and I wouldn't say it's all cheers either. I miss being in there. I miss it right now. So we'll just see how it plays out.
Greatest moment of your career?
Not my best fight of the career. My greatest moment was probably when I fought Carlos and won the belt. They're beating BJ was a big fight for me. Hoist was a big fight for me. Frank Trigg 2 was a big fight for me. So, if I hadn't won that belt the first time, the other ones wouldn't have happened.
Well, Matt, it has been an absolute pleasure not only watching you but covering you. And I think there are not many fighters that we can say his era. There was a Matt Hughes era. And I think that's something to be very proud of. A Hall of Famer, a great guy. Look forward to seeing what you'll do with this new job. And I'm sure now we can ask you different questions and bother you with different stuff now. So you'll be hearing a lot more of us.
Thank you, buddy.